Hello students, today I will take up federation topic which is very important from BPSC exam perspective. This question has been asked in your BPSC exam several times. This time also I am expecting. Even then, if questions are not being asked, the concept of this topic is very important and it can help in making your understanding broad and better. So I will rather request to go through this topic. In last BPSC, 63rd BPSC, there was question that the question is that I repeat the question, that India has a federation with a strong centralizing tendency. How do you explain this statement? This question was asked in earlier also. The question was that critically examine the financial, legislative, financial and administrative relation. So what I mean to say, there has been question on this topic several times and you are supposed to go through this topic properly. Yes, in 56, 59 course topic, they were critically examine the legislative, administrative and financial relation between center and state. So this topic is very important, and presently as there are significant changes taking place in country affecting center-state relation, that's why this topic becomes very important presently. So today I am taking up topic center-state relation along with federation. So just I told that I have started topic called environmental setting of Indian administration. Means Indian administration is getting influenced by constitution and its provisions. Yesterday I was discussing how parliamentary democracy affected Indian administration, its nature and the structure. Today I will discuss what is federation and how it is affecting Indian administration in its structure and in its nature. So this topic is very important. So I will start the topic with Article 1 of Indian Constitution. Article 1 of Indian Constitution says that India is a union of state. India is a union of state. This statement creates confusion among several because those who have federation in mind find something different in India. In India, it is not federation but union of state. That is very much clear. I must tell you one thing. When India was making its constitution, in its draft constitution, there was provision under Article 1 that India is in a federation of state. Getting point means the constitution maker were genuinely interested to make India a federation, but at the time of partition, what the bloodshed, the disturbances, what they fought, they changed their minds and they introduced elements of unitary feature in federal structure. That's why India become quasi-federal, means it is having federation with unitary feature. So Indian federation is not as you expect, as you find in USA and other countries. It is a specific feature of Indian system, fulfilling its own requirement only. Getting point? As you know, the term federation is derived from the Latin word foedus, Foedus. What do you mean of foedus? Foedus means an agreement or alliance. It is between, integrity of union or federation with autonomy of state. There is the power division is tilted in favor of its province or its states, and state have also power to get succeeded from federation. So I must make you clear that India is not federation. India is not made on account of any agreement or alliance between states, and states are very much integral part of India and they don't have power to get succeeded from India. That's why India is basically quasi-federal, or you can say federation of its own nature. Getting point? It cannot be compared with America or other system. Indian federation is based on Government of India Act 1935 and Constitution of Canada. Unitary feature it inherited from the Constitution of Canada. That is very important thing. Getting a point? It has both features, federal feature and unitary feature. Can you point out what are the federal feature and what are the unitary feature? Yes, I can tell you there can be several federal features. So first federal feature you can say there is existence of dual polity. There is two different political systems, one working at central level and other at state level. They have their own government, their own administrative system. Number two, in India there is written constitution. Yeah, and both center and state work in accordance with constitution. Number three, there is division of power, and center has its own the jurisdiction of subjects and state their own. Then there is supremacy of constitution. Constitution is considered the supreme law of nation, and center and state both abide by it. Then there is rigid constitution. Constitution is very much rigid in this sense that you cannot manipulate by arbitrary means. Then you can say there is independent judiciary. Judiciary is not part of central government or state government. They have their independent status, draw authority directly from constitution. And there is bicameralism, means parliament is consisted of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is basically houses of states that symbolizes federal system, and Lok Sabha is houses of people, symbolizes popular governance. Getting point? So dual polity, written constitution, division of power, supremacy of the constitution, rigid constitution, independent judiciary, bicameralism are example of federal structure. On the other hand, as I told at the beginning, that India has some unitary feature also. Then what are unitary feature? Then first, strong centers. Then states are indestructible, means states can be destructed. In general, India is indestructible with destructible states. Means the states can be manipulated, it can change, increase, but India cannot be. So there is rigid constitution. Getting a point? A single constitution means center and state both don't have their own constitution. There is single constitution and both center and state draw authority from this constitution only. There is flexibility of constitution also. Maximum portion of constitution can be amended with simple majority. In Rajya Sabha, all states are not given equal representation. As representation in Rajya Sabha is on population basis, that's why those states which have more population has more representation, and those who have less population has less representation in Rajya Sabha. While in America, Rajya Sabha, in Senate, all states have equal representation, 2 representation from each state. That's why in Senate there are 100 members, 50 multiplied by 2. Now there is an emergency provision also. Under Article 352 to under 360, there is an emergency provision that center can impose national emergency, constitutional emergency, financial emergency in the wake of contingent and emergency situation. Then single citizenship means in India there is no dual citizenship. We are citizen of India, which is applied for the state and center both. There is integrated judiciary, means what? Judiciary is independent definitely, which is federal feature, but integrated judiciary is basically feature of unitary system. Here, Supreme Court, High Court, subordinate court work in a hierarchical order having some functional relation, so which gives a unitary feature look to Indian system. Then you can say there is All India Services. Under Article 312, there is All India Services. Parliament can make All India Services on the recommendation of Rajya Sabha. They are recruited and trained by central government and work on the states. Both center and state exercise joint control over them. Get a point? Then you can say integrated audit system and integrated election system. Both are feature of unitary system. Election Commission conducts election for the state legislature as well as for parliament, and CAG conducts audit of state and center both. There is appointment of governor. That is very important thing. By president, and governor continues in office till pleasure of president. So this is also, you can say, there is, you can say, federal dominance of unitary feature over federal structure. And last, you can say, division of power tilted in the favor of center. Center can make law in their own subjects, concurrent list, and in this specific condition they can legislate on state subject also. So division of power is tilted in favor of state center. So this is the reason Indian Federation is not basically true federation. It is basically quasi federation. Get a point? And several scholars have given their own view accordingly. Piley says India is India is federal in its structure, but unitary in spirit. Getting point? Whereas Union Casey Ware says that Indian Union is unitary state with subsidiary federal features rather than a federal state with subsidiary unitary features. Means India is basically unitary state with some federal feature. That is more important thing. It is basically not exact federation, it is quasi-federal. On the other hand, Paul Appleby says no, India is extremely federal. He took a different stand and he told that India is extreme federal. Maurice Jones says India is bargaining federalism. Getting point? That statement which was asked in 63rd BPSC question, that statement was given by Ivor Jennings, and India is federation with a strong centralizing tendency. That is very important point. So every scholar have tried to give, you can say, opinion as per their view. Ambedkar rightly says that India is basically federal in structure both as per requirement of time and situation. As the time requires or the situation requires, India becomes federal or unitary. So this is very much correct wheresoever Ambedkar view is concerned. Get a point? So the basic feature, the unique feature of Indian Federation gives a permanent and you can say all pervasive problem, that is center-state relation. Getting a point? In Indian Constitution, Part 11 and Part 12 discuss with center-state relation. Getting a point? So in Part 11 there are two chapters. Chapter 1 deals with legislative relation, article covering 245 to 255, and Chapter 2 deals with administrative relation, covering article from 256 to 263, and Part 12 deals with financial relation. Chapter 1 article 264 to 293 deals with financial relation. So what I mean to say, that is very important federation topic. It has significant influence over Indian administration. It has led emergence of center-state relation. That is very much important here, which has several dimensions. 3 dimensions are important, but legislative, administrative, and financial. But there can be some more dimension also, like planning, then law and order. Sometimes there can be question while keeping law and order as focal point, sometimes on planning also. But center-state relation has, wheresoever Constitution is concerned, Constitution identified 3 dimensions: administrative, legislative, administrative, and you can say financial. Get your point? So now I will discuss legislative relation, as I told in article, which one? Article 245 to Article 255 discuss with center-state legislative relation. What is legislative authority, or you can say legislative power? Means power to make laws. Get a point? So Parliament is legislative body at central level and state legislature at state level. Both have legislative power. Parliament can make a law which can be applied for entire country. Even it can apply for outside India, on Indian citizen and Indian property. But wheresoever Parliament, state legislature is concerned, its legislative power is confined to the jurisdiction of the state only. Get a point? That is very important thing. and wheresoever the jurisdiction of legislative power of Parliament is basically extends to entire India, all states or entire union territory, even outside India, an Indian property, Indian citizen. Getting point? That is very important point. Article 246, that is very important point, deals with division of power between center and state. Schedule 7 describes three types of list: union list, state list, and concurrent list. Union list has, how many subjects? Union list has presently 101 subjects. In general, in principle, it is called 97 subjects, but it is 101 subject. New entry is GST. Getting point? It includes defense, it includes banking, foreign affairs, currency, atomic energy, insurance, service tax, GST, etc., on which Parliament has exclusive power to make law. Getting a point? Wherever state list is concerned, getting a point, it has, earlier there were 66 subjects, but in 76, 5 subjects transferred from state list to concurrent list, so now it reduced to 61. It includes public order, education, forest, weight and measures, protections and protection of wildlife, administration of justice, except High Court and Supreme Court. Getting point? Here, in general, state legislature has power to make law. Getting point? In concurrent list, it has earlier 47 subjects, now it becomes 52. Here, both Parliament and state legislature has power to make law. Getting a point? It includes criminal law and procedure, civil procedure, marriage and divorce. Getting a point? Marriage and divorce. Then you can say, protection of weight and measures, protection of wild animals, administration of justice, etc. Let me correct one thing. Just now I was discussing state list. I included the name also, which transferred in 1976. So I give you fresh name of state list, which is called public order, police, public health and sanitation, agriculture and prison, on which state legislature under normal circumstances had power to legislate. And concurrent list, earlier 47, now 52, as I told, 5 subjects from a state list transferred to concurrent list, which includes education, forest, weight and measures, protection of wildlife, administration of justice. Let me make clear again that education were earlier in the state list, now it become under concurrent list in 1926. Getting point? So you should keep in mind. Wherever the concurrent subject is concerned, here both Parliament and state legislature can make law, and in general the Parliament law over state law dominates in case of conflict. Getting point? And wherever residuary subjects are concerned, Parliament is empowered to make law. The residuary subject means which are not mentioned in any list are residuary subjects, and Parliament has power to make law. Getting point? But one thing you try to understand, that under specific circumstances, Parliament not only can legislate on its own subject, but it can legislate on a state subject also. So I have tried to point out that there are several situations under which Parliament can make law on a state subject also, like under Article 249, when Rajya Sabha passes a resolution with a 2/3 majority. In that circumstance, Parliament can make law in state subject also. When there is national emergency under Article 352, then Parliament can make law on a state subject also under Article 250. When 2 or more than 2 states make joint request to Parliament to make law under this circumstance, under Article 352, 252, Parliament can make law on a state subject also. Under Article 253, Parliament can make law on a state subject to implement international treaty and agreements. Getting point? And under Article 356, when there is state emergency, under this circumstance also, Parliament can make law on state subjects. So these are situations 249, 250, 252, 253, 256, 357, 6 are situations in which Parliament can make law on a state subject. And here story does not end. Some more elaboration also that Parliament center has control over state legislation also. So under Article 200 and 201, Governor can reserve several state legislation for President's consideration, and under 300 and under certain bills or certain legislation of state government can be introduced only with the prior approval of President. So as for example, under Article 307, any state legislative bill containing interstate trade and commerce restriction can be introduced in state legislature only with the approval of President, prior approval of President. And when there is financial emergency under 360, President can give direction with regard to financial matter, even financial bill to state also. So what I find that in Indian situation, under normal and abnormal in both situations, center has control and dominance over a state wheresoever legislative power is concerned. Now I would like to discuss what is administrative relation. Under Article 256 to 263, there is detail of administrative relation. Getting your point? What is administrative relation? Means in the first part we discuss power to legislate, and in second part we will discuss power to govern and rule. Here the Parliament or a central government has exclusive jurisdiction over entire territory of India. Its executive power, administrative power extends to entire country, and wheresoever state government is concerned, its administrative power extends to jurisdiction of state only. Getting your point? So this is very important thing you require to keep in mind. Getting your point? And one thing more, that there like legislative relation, we have some administrative relation also. Like under Article 256, it is obligation of a state to recognize the center's action and administrative act. And under Article 257, it is obligation of a state not to impede any hurdles in the execution of center's orders and center's administrative act. Getting a point? Under Article 258, center can assign certain function to a state to implement, and vice versa also. State can assign certain function to center for to implement. So under Article 262, there is, you can say, provision of education of interstate river and river valley dispute. And under Article 261, the all records and official documents of one state would be duly recognized by center and other states, and vice versa. Get a point? And under Article 263, there is provision of interstate council which came in existence in 1990 only. So what I meant to say here, Article 256 to Article 263 deals with several dimensions of administrative relation. So first to Article 256 to recognize the Central Action and Administrative Act. Article 257, not to impede any hurdles. Article 258, center can assign certain function to a state and vice versa. Under Article 262, interstate river and river valley dispute adjudication. Under Article 261, all documents and public records of one state to be recognized by center and other states and vice versa. And under Article 263, there is provision of interstate council. Getting point? In addition to them, there are other aspects also which influence center-state administrative relations, like All India services. In India, there are 3 All India services: IAS, IPS and IFS. They are recruited and trained by central government and placed in the state government. Both center and state have joint control over them. Under Article 315, there is Public Service Commission. Get a point at central level, state level, and two and more states joint Public Service Commission. So this is also having administrative implication. Under Article 153, there is provision of appointment of governor by president, and he continues till his pleasure. Under Article 243, there is a state election commissioner which is appointed by governor but can be removed by president only. Under Article 352 to 360, there is provision of emergency, and here also at central's administrative authority extends over state matters. And there is integrated judicial system in which also the central administrative power extends to state also. So these are some situations which influence center-state relation, and there are some extra constitutional devices like Niti Aayog, NDC, NIC, General Council also influence center-state administrative relation. So this topic is very important. You can point also paramilitary forces, then central, you can say intelligence agency, investigative agency like CBI, like NIA. They have now become very important one, and due to NIA, due to CBI, due to now several administrative agencies which is concerned with law and order, now there is emergence of new tussle between center and state. So you can find in recent also. Get a point? Niti Aayog is a less newcomer in this framework. Now I will discuss financial relation. As I told, under part 12, chapter 1, article 264 to 93 deals with financial relation. Like center and state have legislative relation, administrative relation. On financial front also there is financial relation. Finance is very important and very significant also, because finance is administration. No finance, no administration. That's why finance has its own value and significance. This relation has been very dynamic and fluid in course of time. In past there has been significant changes in financial relation. I tell you, in general, center has 15 sources from where it can generate taxes. State has 20 sources from where it can generate taxes. There are 4 subjects under concurrent list where center and state both can generate taxes, and residuary subjects lies in parliament, means center can exercise their control over. Get a point? So parliament has 15 sources on which it can levy taxes. State legislature has 20 sources on which it can levy taxes. In concurrent, there are 4 subjects including GST on which both center and state can levy taxes, and residency subject lies with the parliament. As I told, this financial relation has been changing significantly in course of time. First change took place in 88th constitutional amendment in 2000, when Article 272 was deleted, and it was made provision of alternative scheme of devolution. Under Article 272, there was provision that center can grant an aid to state from certain tax and duty on its discretion. Getting point? That was some sort of discretionary provision. This was removed, and it is now made compulsory that certain tax and duty of center can be distributed to state as alternative devolution of a scheme. Earlier it was decided 29%, now it is increased to 42.5%. better it would be if you correct it from books also. Get a point? I feel that 14th Finance Commission role is to 42.5%. Get a point? In 2003, there were 88 constitutional amendments which introduced service tax, which can be levied by central government, but both center and state can collect and appropriate. Getting a point? Service tax. In 2016, GST came. Getting a point? It has with 100 first 101 Amendment Act, that is very important one, and it is in accordance with one nation, one tax resolution. Getting point? It has brought significant changes in tax structure. Getting point? Now it has amalgamated, you can say combined several central taxes and state taxes under one tax, that is called GST. GST is now having three classifications: central GST, state GST, and integrated GST. Getting point? So wheresoever central GST is concerned, it is center to levy taxes. Wheresoever state GST is concerned, state is power to levy taxes, and wheresoever integrated GST, it is center to levy taxes. Getting a point? So this is the important point. GST is having 5 slabs. Getting points? Goods and services are divided according to their merit on 5 classes and tax accordingly. The most important, very essential service are having 0% tax, then next 5%, then 12%, then 18%, and at most 28%. The luxury and most sophisticated product under 28%. Petrol, alcohol, and electricity are kept out of preview of this GST. Getting point? And there is some, you can say, GST council consisting of Union Finance Minister and a state finance commissioner to review and keep watch over the functioning of GST and to suggest measures to make it effective one. You know, under Article 264A, the GST is recognized as concurrent subject here, means both center and the state has equal power here. Getting point? And you know that it has very significant significance wheresoever fiscal federation is concerned. Getting point? So it has significantly influenced center-state financial relation. In general, we know there are following relations which can be discussed as financial relation. Under Article 268, there are certain tax which are levied by the central government but collected and appropriated by states, which includes stamp duties and excise duty on medicine and toilet preparation containing alcohol and narcotics. Getting point? So first, Article 268, stamp duty and excise duty on medical and toilet products. Then you can say there are some other things also, like you can point here. Yes. Under Article 268A, there is service tax and there is GST, which are collected and which are levied by the center, but they can be collected and appropriated by both center and state. Get a point? Under Article 269, there is taxes which can be levied and collected by the center but assigned to the states. These are very important. These deal with the tax related to sales and purchase of goods during interstate intercourse and consignment of goods and passengers. When there is interstate trade and commerce, when goods and services are transacted, and when tax is collected, that this tax is levied by the center and given to the states. So this is very important, assigned to the states under Article 269. Under Article 270, there are certain tax and duties which are levied and collected by the center but distributed between center and the state, which includes in general income tax and other direct taxes, which is levied by the and collected by the center. But distributed between center and state. That is very important thing. Under Article 271, there are surcharges on certain taxes and duties for a specific purpose. Get a point? It is levied, collected and appropriated by central only, means it is not distributed to a state. So this is very important thing. So Article 268, 268A, 269, 270, 271. These are very important, which article which deal with center-state financial relation. Getting point? Then under Article 272, there is grant and aid provision which is no more in existence, and that is replaced by alternative scheme of devolution. Now just I told. Under Article 275, still it is in existence. It is given grant and aid to state by center on recommendation of parliament, in practice on recommendation of planning commission, which is no more in existence. So it is also very much in existence presently also. Under Article 282, center can give grant and aid to state or an institution state or in particular purpose. Get your point? Under Article 280, there is provision of center-state there is provision of finance commission to study center-state financial relation and to give appropriate recommendation. Under Article 293, center and state can borrow from different sources. Center can borrow from internal and external sources. State cannot borrow from external sources. It can borrow from state, and center also. The center gives loan to states, and they also give guarantee on borrowing of states from different states or other mechanism. Getting point? So this is very important point. Loan and guarantee to loan. That is very important. Guarantee on loan. That is by state, the center gives a guarantee. Getting it? These are some important things. Along with there are some non-tax sources also, which lies with both center and state. Center can generate revenue as non-tax revenue from railway, banking, central public service, central public undertaking also, foreign trade, etc. And state can also generate resources from irrigation, forest, fisheries, state public undertaking, etc. Getting a point? So these are some sources which discuss center-state financial relation. I tell you, this relation is become presently very important one, and center-state relation very important also. But I tell you, center-state relation become important not all of a sudden. It become important in course of time. When India got independence, at the time of independence or afterwards, there was single party system. Both at central level and state level, there was rule of single party. But in 1967 general election, you know what happened? A large number of regional party came into power in the state, and that thereafter there has been tussle between central and the state, getting one which continues presently. The first important conflict between central and state emerged on the issue of All India services. You know, the first, you can say, the Chief Minister of Kerala, E.M.S. Namboodiripad, has raised concern over All India services. They pointed out what is use of All India services. They don't know the culture, they don't know the language, they don't know the local problem. Then how they will address a problem to solution to the problem. Then second, the center-state relation. The trouble starts with deployment of paramilitary forces. Get your point? In state like Kerala and West Bengal, center deployed paramilitary forces without permission of the state, and the state started raising concern why you have deployed forces, this and that. Then a mode of appointment and dismissal of governor can be third point. Number 4, discretionary and partisan role of governor is also important reason for center-state tussle. Then you know the use of 356 for political gains. Get a point? Then the reservation of state bills for president consideration also cause tense relation between these things. Wheresoever financial relation is concerned, state has very weak source of revenue as compared to state one. That is why there has been throughout tussle between central state on financial issue. Planning Commission, when it was in existence, it was also one of the major bone of contention between central and state relation. Getting point? Then All India Services, I told earlier, the use of electronic media for political purposes. Still, several state governments blame that Doordarshan, All India Service, All India Radio, etc. work in national interest and overlook state interest. So this is also one of the reasons, particularly when there is opposition party government in the state. Then appointment of inquiry commission against chief minister for a political reason is also reason. Then encroachment of center on the state subject at some time, the excessive concern of center in law and order matter of state also caused tension. Last time, due to use of CBI, NIA, there has been tussle between central and state relation. Last time we also found several central schemes like Ayushman Bharat and several other schemes, Aadhaar Link Yojana, were not accepted by a state. They told, I will not implement in my state. So this type was also situation took place. Last time you find Mann Ki Baat program of Prime Minister, several states refused to telecast in their state. Then last time NRC, CA also, you find different states have taken different stand also. Some states supported it, some states objected it. Get your point? And CA, NRC also, NPA also. That time there was issue. Presently on corona issue, we also find wheresoever lockdown is concerned, we find this different type of situation with different form of experience also we feel presently. So presently I tell you, center-state relation is basically having more than several locus and focus, having very sensitive and you can say burning issue in an Indian setup. But there is no, you can say, measure taken in this regard. It is not correct to say. Right from beginning, there has been serious effort to maintain effective relation between center and state. In 1966, first ARC led by Morarji Desai gave a thorough discussion on it. It constituted a center-state committee under the chairmanship of Sheetal Ward, and it has given following recommendation that under Article 263 there should be establishment of interstate council. Then second, it gave recommendation appointment of able and experienced person as governor. Number 3, delegation of power to maximum extent to states, then transfer of more financial power to states, then deployment of central forces on their request or otherwise, then services. Getting a point. The states should be given only those projects which are having productive in nature. Get a point. The testing of majority should take place not in Raj Bhavan but in the state floor of state legislature. So some recommendation it has given. It has, in nutshell, it has given recommendation to give more power to state to make it more viable and effective one. Get a point? In 1969, Raj Mannar Committee was constituted by Tamil Nadu government to investigate center-state relation. It has given following recommendation that under Article 263 there should be establishment of interstate council. It also gave recommendation to make finance commission a permanent body. It recommended it to Article 356, Article 357 and Article 365 should be totally removed. It also gave a recommendation to abolish All India Services, Planning Commission, and it also gave recommended to transfer certain union subject to state list, getting point, and in last it gave recommendation that state minister holds office during pleasure of governor. This provision should be omitted, getting point, since it was constituted by state government, that's why it was not given too much attention. In 1973, Punjab, Akali Dal brought Anandpur Sahib resolution in which it suggested to keep defense, foreign affairs, communication and currency with center and transfer rest subject to states. Get a point? In 1977, West Bengal government also gave a recommendation memorandum and gave such type of recommendation also to give more and more power to state and keep center minimal subjects. To examine center-state relations thoroughly, central government constituted a commission under Justice Ranjit Singh Sarkaria, that is Sarkaria Commission in 1983. It gave recommendation and submitted recommendation 1988, which was published in the same year, and it has given 247 recommendations. That you can say one of the most important thrust in center-state relation till after independence. The first recommendation it has given to constitute an interstate council under Article 263. Then it also suggested to make 356 as last resort. Get a point? It also suggested to continue all India services and to make it more strong one. It recommended to make NDCH, National Economic and Development Committee, Council, and should be given constitutional status under Article 263. It also suggested the consultation of the state on deployment of paramilitary forces should be made desirable. It also says the center must consult the state while making law on concurrent subject. It also recommended to make governor tenure fixed and should not be disturbed. Getting a point? It also gave recommendation consultation of chief minister on the appointment of governor should be made constitutional. And last, it also suggested zonal council should be reconstituted fresh and in reactivated fashion and given more thrust to spirit of federalism. So it has given some important recommendation, and maximum recommendation were recommended also. In last 2007, central government appointed a commission under chairmanship of Madan Mohan Punchi, that is called Punchi Commission. It was recommended, it was established to assess the center-state relation in LPG and post-LPG era, and due to democratic decentralization IT resolution. So this gave recommendation in 2010. In total, it has given 310 recommendations. So first recommendation it has that there should be some broad agreement between center and state when you go for implementation of law related to concurrent subject. That is a very important point. If you want to foster cooperative federalism, there should be some broad agreement between center and state. That is very much important one. Number two, the parliament supremacy. This feeling should be now reduced, and greater flexibility should be given to states relating to state subjects. And there should be some transfer item type classification in concurrent subject so that state may have more access to concurrent subject. Then it has also given there should be continuous introspection on audit on the functioning of interstate council. It gave recommendation of 6 months for precedent consideration for state legislature. It has given recommendation that under Article should not be considered, should not make governor a sole judge. Rather, he has to work on the advice of Council of Minister, and he should work on consonance with Council of Minister, not against Council of Minister. Then it also gave recommendation to make governor tenure to be fixed one. It also gave there should be provision of impeachment of governor also. It also pointed out that Article 356 should be used only on the failure of constitutional machinery's last resort. And last, it also recommended creation of new all India services like Indian Health Service, Indian Education Service, Indian Judiciary Service. I must tell you, in a very recent, government has recommended to go for all Indian Judicial Services. So in nutshell, we have significant changes in course of time wherever center-state relation is concerned. And I tell you, after 2014 onwards, when government was changed and NDA came in power under chairmanship of Mr. Modi, significant changes took place due to the abolition of Planning Commission and emergence of Niti Aayog, GST, demonetization, then you can say presently you can say NRC, CAA, several things taking place significantly, and now India is moving towards a cooperative federalism, a participative federalism, a competitive federalism. You know, Niti Aayog, if you compare Planning Commission and Niti Aayog, then you may find that in Planning Commission there were no participation of state, but in Niti Aayog states are equally given participation, number one, and there is some regional council also to address local issue. So as compared to Planning Commission, you know, Niti Aayog is more participative, more federal in nature. With GST, one tax, one nation, one tax, this slogan also gave impetus to cooperative federalism, particularly you find due to establishment of GST Council. Then presently, you know, due to CAA, NRC, there has been turmoil if and what wherever center-state relation is concerned, but we are developing some sort of, you can say, sound consensusness in which we have to, we have principle like live and let live. Getting a point? And we now start thinking that center cannot develop its own, or center cannot develop while ignoring state interest. When state will be developed, then only India can be developed. Now this objective we have in our mind, and that is why we are giving thrust our state and its concern, and we try to give focus on mutual cooperation and you can healthy competition. So presently center-state relation is very much in fluid situation. No objective conclusion can be drawn. But one thing I will like to say that now our democracy is getting mature day by day, and now we are moving towards a healthy cooperative federation and participative federation, and indeed you can say a competitive federation in which each and everyone is trying to give his best to prove his mettle and to say larger share in public popularity graph. So this is you required to keep in mind. So I will take one question, question asked in 5650. This topic is very open one, and it is depend on a student how much he gets himself updated with latest development. More update, more better answer you will write. You take up one question asked in 5659 that critically review, critically examine the central state legislative, administrative, financial relation. This question is big, broad, but you write it, that will give you your understanding more clear, and that will make you confident and more assertive. If you have any difficulty, you can contact me. Okay, all the best, enjoy.